The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Gone are the days when you can repackage the same thing and bring to Africa and the African will go unnoticed. This time around, things have changed. Before you do the repackaging, the African already know the substance that is in the box or in that package. Because of this narrative of the African always buying into everything that comes, they have decided to change the package and label it differently. Sahel is still on Macron's visit to Ghana. The Sahelian leaders are not happy about Macron's visit to Ghana. And they are saying it plainly that Macron thinks that changing the narrative from the Francophone to Anglophone is going to solve the problem. Because now they've seen that they have lost everything. Their grape and everything in Africa. They think that rebranding it is going to change anything. That the mistake is that Macron has forgotten that the sentiment is not only in the Sahel, it is across Africa. Now the African is no longer ready for lectures. You can tell us that you will not vote to support reparation and you don't see slavery to be the gravest crime against Africans. Then you then come back into an African country and tell us how you are going to support what they are talking about.
Now, sorry for interrupting you because if it is the children who make it is worth it. I don't mind. But it is that, even your intellectuals, I'm sorry, you're one of them. These children of happiness here. Wait, even our intellectuals. But they are complexed in front of one white goes to Paris, take one tramp. Buy him one outfit, bring him to sea. Even the ministers will bend over in two to greet him, so it's not the problem of the child in the neighborhood. Don't bother, the child is paradigmatic. It's one model. We understand each other because here it is the big ones that are bent. In front of the whites, yes, and that's the danger, yes. How you believe. I returned to the Sahel. When some Veziliers, they seem that he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. And it is one scandal. Macron is ready to start 1 or 3 world war with atomic bomb. And he'll say it's the picture. Malian, how do you think one adventurer like this happens to Mali and arrives to take on the Malian generals for his cause? To carry out coup d'etat to one president who takes sovereignty, how you can understand that? These generals when one general is not. But we convinced one white man who has the face swollen with a drunkard, managed to convince them that it is necessary that the joins to it to reverse the established order of sovereignty. This general then, how can you understand this general? Tour also thinks that they think their turn is coming. Also how you can understand the linguistic sauce. Everything that is good, excellent, is combined with white. Yeah, the fruits, the names, yeah. When you have the superior quality, in the language association, yeah, in our languages there, we combine papayas or coconuts, etc., etc. Oil, when it is good, it is associated with white, and when it is of less quality, it belongs to zero as long as we will not give importance to Africans who think, because there are some who think and create. There are Africans thinking, when you take the case, and I have one guy, there I don't know him, I see him writing, the one who says that 10,000 mechanics need to be trained. What is the name of one young, but nobody listens to it. He says that we need to train people. In mechanics, nobody listens. I heard about a Beninese who created one robot. Who operates it says who does the surgery. But nobody talks about it. If it was one white, every African heads of state reportedly laid the red carpet on him. Nobody talks about it. So if we don't give importance to our young creators, we'll never make it. Let's ask Iran how it did it. Over 47 years of embargo total. How he did it for today. Challenge the world's greatest military powers. Well, we'll close then this first part. I would like to mention the contemporary sequels of Slavery, the Past That Does Not Pass. What cost us one title? His name is Fagnon. Then the man who wants to train mechanics is Fagnon. I always read his writings, but no one listens to it, so listen, we are talking about restorative justice. But how do we measure scientifically the and developmental delay suffered by the African continent because of the demographic bleeding of the black slave trade? Yes, sir. First, the first step would be to manage to objective the demographic coup, as you say. And just a few numbers. When you take the Port of London has armed about 6,000 boats. The Port of Bristol has armed 3,500. And Liverpool. We are around 4,750 armed boats, and these are the figures of the minimalists, because the community is divided into two, maximalists and minimalists. And among the minimalists, the most illustrious, who published in '69, his name is Philippe Courtin, was left-handed in censor. He's the one who opened the box on demographic research, the demographic course. He talks about 15 of 12,005 of men, but it does not take into account the losses. It does not take into account those who died during the crossing. But the maximalists reach 250,000 from the golf course, that is, on the Gulf of Guinea, we consider. Also functions that have been done on the other side, at the level of the Moana Mate, Zanzibar, but, you know, there is the wife of Chief Kwanta Diop. It is not because she is his wife, Louise Mais Diaz. She is demographer, she is social demographer. She made one study where she says that in the 15th century we were around 600,000, but she makes the estimates in the 19th century, to the end of the 19th century, we were at about 200,000. It estimates at 400,000 loss of life. Said the demographic loss of Black Africa in general, well, if we add the 80,000 minimalists of the Arab trade, we are around 500,000. But how can you, when you are told to capture one person, there are 9 who die after? When they fill the boats from the strong that are on our coast, we got one small slave house here too, at home in Gudrafo. When they fill, they arrive, they have the minimalists say it's a 25% loss. And the most minimalist of historians, French, who was one lecturer, Two-Farted Frog, who wrote one book, One of Errors, that, in short, I give up. He talks about 45 to 50% loss in general. So we are at incredible numbers. But how can you fix it? Who can fix this? We can't fix this. Then we can talk about symbolism, we can speak like in Africa. At home we talk about the recognition of reconstruction, of the memory, but I hear you ask the question, and how can we quantify compensation, the cost of compensation of this massacre, which is not only physical, because there are the complexes we talked about earlier. There is the complex of Stockholm, which has, that is, who went after the Africans that make Africans enslaved have fallen in love with their executioner, and there is all this in the present you have passed. Talked about reminiscences of the past in the present, there is all that. There is the fact that the man wins, considers his fellow man as his enemy, because there was one period, described by Bosman, where wars, intra-African women have become so fratricidal, where we no longer trusted each other. This is the origin of African distrust. It is the origin of the fact that the heads of state are treated by foreign doctors who are white. Our heads of state are protected by services, secrets that are foreign, who have strategic information on the functioning of our states, because they are afraid of their citizens, but they are not wrong to be afraid, because there is always one Negro somewhere to whom we will say to make one coup to take money. You see, all this is the consequences of trafficking in these episodes that we Africans have how to repair, who to fix. I'll give you the floor again, yeah? Because we have to mark one break. Oh, but you know, it is necessary to say the things as they appear. Slavery is only the culmination of the indescribable violence. He spoke about slavery, Arabic, but nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. We always bang on the Europeans. Boom, boom, you are slave traders you have arrived, thanks to, but the Arabs have done worse. But nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about slavery, Arab who was more violent. Listen well, you want to last nearly 1,000, eh? Sorry, that lasted in time almost 1,000, eh? That lasted. And all black people that we brought to these Arab countries, they are where? When we brought the blacks to America, they are still there. In the United States, there are black people in Canada. There are some in Brazil. There are some. Even if the bird had the diabolical idea to erase the blacks. But other countries have black people from black communities, known where the black communities in the Gulf countries are. Persique, there is none. First we castrate them, and we castrate them how? But you castrers? Your dog or your goat with one little more attention. For the blacks to castrate, it was not that. At 8 castrated out of 10 would die, so people came to fall in Africa, and they surrendered only God.
Gave the paradise.
In black, as he said, but it is the horn of abundance. What they found in Africa, for someone from Afghanistan, but and it is said, but wait, or of the winter, and sorry, or winter, which comes from the European winter. The European winter, he thinks he is in heaven, so what have we done? We invented religions and gods, and we told the black man, your paradise, there is nothing. We give you heaven after death today. All the energies of black people are focused on the conquest of paradise after death, when they are already sitting in one paradise that God gave them, graciously without asking them anything in exchange. But people, humans came, we sold them paradises. Today, the trade of paradise is the most profitable. That's what makes more money. That the slavery trade. It is enough immediately you make there, you speak in the name of God, you promise heaven. There are even people who sell places in, I swear, I hope you know about it so. The African gave up what God gave him. Graciously, the African had not asked for anything, but God gave it to him. In slavery, Arab was 10 times more violent than Western slavery. Because Westerners, they still needed these living blacks. It was their how you say that to them, their caterpillar, their tractor. The blacks are their caterpillar for a plowing seed harvesting. So all slave owners had interest in their slaves being alive and in good health to continue working for them. But we were not in the logic in Persian Gulf. There was no planting. There we do not plant in the desert. So we could kill them as we want. There is no black Toctone. In some countries of Persian Gulf, it does not exist. Do you know that there are black people in Toctone in Iran? The Iran we talk about every day, nobody says it. Nobody says that there are black people in Iran, because in other countries there are none. How it ended. I've heard of blacks in Iraq too, yes. If there are some in Iran, he must have some in Iraq, but otherwise, the rest deleted. And as I say I come back. Why the invitation to Macron? And he expressed well to know that the project of annihilation of the black is not yet finished. I am surprised that black people don't see what happens. At least our ancestors, they didn't know anything. There was no internet of so many of our ancestors. You are sitting here. What happens 10 kilometers away, you don't know. But today are aware of everything that happens on the four corners of the world by the minute near. But has the African changed? The African has not changed. The African continues to see only in his brother. His enemy is... We were told the theory that yes, it was the blacks who sold the blacks. Well, it happened. After the wars it happened, but he explained clearly how slave factories were made. So if blacks sold blacks, Gilas, has it changed? You are not surprised that today there are African countries that want their freedom, their sovereignty, and which other African countries that will be added to the white. To break this desire for freedom and sovereignty, you are not surprised. It means that the Negro today who supports France to trample and enslave the Sahel again, it is worse. That the Negro in alphabet from 2, 3, 4 centuries ago, who was going to take his brother to sell him to the white man. Tell me how we evolved. Tell me how we have changed. Get at what you say our problem. The one is that we do not know our history. Our children do not know the story. They have no idea. When we talk about colonization, even the only colonization that ended yesterday, or who pretended to be completed in 1960, our children don't know they are on TikTok. Don't know, is that the 20 problem? Yes, but wait, because if they know one falsified story, it's more serious. Oh, well, okay, but even the falsified, they don't even bother to know her. They do not know the stories, as they are not interested in it. They must be promised. But in what sense we build our societies, our states? What are the priorities of our states? Because the people you quote, in the end, they are receptacles of the teachings that we produce in society. Yeah, but our states that have emerged from colonization have faced the question of memory. But how do you want them to face the question of the memory?
For at the head of your state,
Supposedly out of the colonization, we put someone which was the direct extension of this colonization. Listen well, in the Francophonie system, we gave you know the formula, right? We gave independence to those who asked for it, at least. And we didn't give it, we didn't ask for it. To those who wanted independence. Yes, that is to say that we have independence to those who did not know with independence, so we'll tell them, that's do like this, do like this. This is where the history of money comes from. The money celebrates the coin murders, the exploiting currency. Even today, there are black people who recognize this. When other black people wake up, say, no, it must not be okay like that, but those who wake up, we will not come to power. And if by chance they find themselves in power, we make them coup d'etat, yes, but of course we know that you and I know that, of course you and I know it. There is one consciousness, there is one African consciousness that is real, that exists, but which is not in the decision-making bodies. Now, what interests me in what you said, there is one conflict between the blacks, yes, but the conflict between the blacks is inevitable. It is not bad, it allows us to solve the problem of treachery that we have within our societies. Because if we don't face this conflict, if we don't bench the traitors, those who are unable, depends on the positions needed abroad, we can never get out of it. And that's one problem. It's not a European problem. Even today, I agree with you. What you explain about the coming generation or the current generation, but there are many factors that have contributed to this. Yes, of course, we also have more culture. Excuse me, there is more culture of values today. There is the race towards the material good, the sensation, and cell phones, the TikTok. Social networks, there is no longer a foundation. You talked about colonization. Was possible, thanks to the wars, to false Europeans that we have lost. But you have one people who always lose wars against the Europeans, but we wonder why we do not act on the issue of security. Who followed the choices that have undergone, but they militarized to the teeth. But Africans today, yes, the Africans who made 4 centuries of slavery. But I am surprised to see the happy Africans dancing, who they believe they live in a normal life. Even the language we speak is the foreign language. Do we realize we have not reappropriated our universe? And when there are voices like ours that speak of it, people perhaps consider us, but these people are on what planet? They don't just see the world. No, we are the center of the world. And we will always be, and we will become it again. In fact, I would like to add, among the motivations, there is one story that disappeared from the texts. It's the famous kingdom of the priest John, yeah. It was one in the 15th century, no, yes. He was looking for the kingdom of the priest John, who would be one Christian kingdom, yeah, different from their Christianity, and who would be paradise on earth. And so he was looking for the essential, and there is this is the one that led the explorers to go to Africa, but we still found ourselves, a few years ago, documents where in their report write, who came to Africa to search for the remnants of the people of Israel. But be careful, they are not the people of Israel, of the Israelis of today who are there, because history has been completely falsified. So much so that we don't realize ourselves that we Africans have produced. We have produced the 2 great religious systems, the most important in the world, the religion of Osiris, which was at the heart of the pharaonic royalty, and the Adonate religion, which was caused by the pharaoh Akhenaton, and whose illustrious poet was at Sarchip Musa, what the Christians call Musa, because Catholics, they stole the texts of the Africans, they changed the names, and they say that it is Judaism, when in reality, the Adonite Revolution was the second great African religion, and this is what gave rise to Christianity. Christianity, which is different from Christianity because Christianity comes from Egypt and Arabia. It is Christ who has rest, what means the tale of the great divine, and they are the disciples of this Christ. The Christians who have been and martyred by the Romans, and it's because they couldn't tame this black Christianity that they invented Christianity to stifle Christianity and to create one white Jesus. So when we talk about these things, we say that the level of plot against black people is so deafening that if Africans were aware of the dynamics. But Rousseau, what he wrote in one book, so I don't want to mention the title, Rousseau writes that if he was one of the princes of the kingdoms of Africa, he will put on the wall of his kingdom 2 archers. Who shoots 2 archers? Archers, yeah, who would shoot poisoned arrows at everything. White-skinned individual who would venture into this kingdom, whether child or old. That is Rousseau, who is white, that he says because he has seen the intensities that the Europeans have experienced. To the blacks, it says how the Negroes, can they still welcome people like that? But it's a crazy thing, but at least if we say we are the big brothers of humanity, we have created one civilization, math-based model justice, love. At least we have to be aware we know people we are talking to. But the problem, as you said, and the main thing, said there is no conscience. Still in our streets today, when one European passes, the children go out, even the adults, it is good evening, but the state can prohibit this anyway. 60 years after independence, and it is one social practice.
They are asking, why should we be preaching Pan-Africanism to our own selves? Yet when we are discussing things that has to do with the African, we still have the same people that are making the African not to move forward right in our midst again. If they cannot accept slavery to be the gravest crime because they don't want to pay reparation, why then do we need his lecture? Like they said, he will come and talk, but behind the scene, he will do nothing. We have seen them for decades. Why don't we start looking inward, trying to see how we'll build ourselves, how we'll move our continent forward without these people? They have never been here to move the African continent forward. Africa has always been backwards as a result of these same lectures we have been having, these same summits we have been having. We have these summits and nothing good comes out of it. Then how do we discuss important secrets that has to do with us, and we still have the same person that is making sure what you are looking for doesn't happen in your midst? To come and do what? Are they not coming to change? Why are they not going back to where they are kicked out? If they were good, will the Sahelian leaders kick them out? Why should an African country close a door and another one will open? So the Sahelians are asking a lot of questions because they don't see why we are having a discussion that has to do with Africa and we have these people in our midst. That the time has come for the African to take its own sovereignty into its own hands. We have to start doing things by ourselves, like we are seeing the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso do. They are not depending on these same people. So why do we want to continue to depend on them when we have been with them for a very long time without any concrete solution? And one thing we need to understand as Africans, we should be the ones to think that we need our own selves. Lectures wouldn't change anything. Somebody saying sorry without any practical steps to make sure what I have done will not happen will still not change anything. The narrative is still going to be the same. Talk and do nothing. Talk and act less. And must we continue to be doing the talking when we are not acting? How is Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso doing it? Why did they chase France out? And we will not think that France is coming to do something better. We are signing security pact with France to come and train our military when France itself is thinking of how to be free from the United States of America. And before they take any step, the United States of America must always be there to defend them. They have not been able to defend themselves, yet they are preaching dependency for the African. We need to be dependent on people that are also dependent on the United States of America in this modern world. What are your thoughts about this invitation of Macron into Accra to be part of this summit that has to do with the African? And do we still need them to always be in our midst each time we are taking decisions or doing something? Because if it were to be Europe doing this, no African leader would have been invited. They don't do anything and bring Africans on board. They always sit down and invite the African when they are to talk about our resources that they are interested in. So why do we always need to bring these people into our midst each time we are discussing anything that has to do with the African? These are the things that Africans will need to ask questions. And like the panel rightful said on News World, that we don't need them. We really don't need these people, because whatever that it is, we can do it for ourselves. And changing from one place to the other wouldn't solve the problem, because the African is wide awoken. We can see them for who they are. It's not about being in the Francophone. We are not seeing the unification among us and making it clear to them that we are now looking beyond the grouping that you did. So what is affecting the Sahelians affect us. If our leaders don't act that way, we the citizens, the youth of today, are waking up and we are making it clear to them. If Sahel don't want you, we don't want you. And that was why we saw the massive protest against him when he was in Kenya. The Kenyans are saying, we are with our brothers and sisters. The time for divide and conquer is over. We will no longer smile with you when our brothers and sisters do not want to do same. So rebranding things wouldn't change the narrative in Africa. All that we need now is uniting among ourselves and putting ourselves first before any other thing. What do you think? Credit to News World. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, West Africa, and in AES.